Amid growing fears over the spread of COVID-19, Turkey, Pakistan and Armenia closed their borders with Iran, while tens of thousands of Italians wake up in quarantine and authorities cut short the Venice Carnival. Iran's interior minister says just 42.6% of eligible voters turned out for the country's parliamentary polls, but describes the record low participation rate as acceptable in light of recent events. And with a decisive victory in the Nevada caucuses, Bernie Sanders strengthens his front-runner position for the Democratic presidential nomination. Joe Biden looks set for a much-needed second-place finish. Thank you for joining us in the France 24 newsroom. I'm Nadia Sharbi. As Italy takes every precaution to contain a surge in COVID-19 cases, authorities there have just confirmed a third fatality this Sunday. Already over 50,000 residents in a dozen northern towns are being told to stay home and face a weeks-long quarantine, while international events such as the Milan Fashion Week and the Venice Carnival are also feeling the impact. A little earlier, I spoke to our Rome correspondent, Seema Gupta, who began by telling us more about the situation in the north of the country.
In northern Italy, all focus really is on the regions of Lombardy and in Veneto. Lombardy, of course, having the bulk of the case. To date now, we have the Civil Protection Services telling us that it's about 132 people that have been infected with the COVID-19 virus. 26 of them are in intensive care. Now, what they've done is a whole range of precautionary measures, particularly in Lombardy and Veneto. Schools are closed for a week. Universities are shut. Museums, cinemas and theatres are also going to be closed, or they're going to be limited. School trips throughout Italy have been cancelled, as well as trips out of Italy have been cancelled. And those areas, those 10 or so towns in northern Italy that are on lockdown, people in those areas risk a fine and even arrest if they try to leave or others try to enter those areas. They are being patrolled by the police and by military personnel as well.
All this couldn't come at a worse time as far as international events are concerned in Italy. Venice's Carnival has now been cut short, and even in Milan, Fashion Week is feeling the impact too.
Yes, in Milan you have the Fashion Week. It's the time for Fashion Week. And what we saw was that the fashion shows by Giorgio Armani, for instance, he made the decision for it to be a closed-door fashion show. And so no one was allowed to watch it in the location, but the event was streamed at a separate location outside. So people could watch it online, but they couldn't actually be there. And Mr. Armani himself released a statement, or his fashion house did, essentially saying they wanted to protect their guests at this event. And other fashion houses such as Laura Biagiotti also made the decision to close the event in order to prevent any further spread. As far as the carnival is concerned, Veneto, where Venice is located, was a region that's been badly hit, and we see some 25 or so infections there. In fact, in Venice itself, a couple in their 80s are reported to have been infected. And so the decision was made today that at the end of this evening, all events regarding the carnival, the Venice Carnival known throughout the world, will be suspended as a result of the coronavirus.
Well, with an eye on those developments, French authorities fear a sudden spike in infections here. And this Sunday, Prime Minister Edouard Philippe has called an extraordinary cabinet meeting. Among those taking part is the new Health Minister, Olivier Véran, who in an interview with newspaper Le Parisien this Sunday said France is preparing for the possibility of a, quote, epidemic. Meanwhile, since 5 p.m. local time this Sunday, Turkey has closed its border with Iran, cutting off roads and railways and cancelling all flights. This is a precautionary measure to halt the potential spread of coronavirus. Pakistan and Armenia have now closed their frontiers with Iran also. At least 43 cases have been confirmed by Tehran, and 8 people have died there, the highest toll to date outside China. While staying in Iran, the country's interior minister has announced a record low turnout of 42.6% for Friday's parliamentary poll. That's down almost 20% from the last such elections in 2016. Yet the figure was deemed, quote, acceptable by officials who pointed to bad weather, fears over the coronavirus outbreak, and the recent air disaster as having dissuaded people from voting. The final results show big gains by hardline loyalists. This after poll authorities had barred roughly half all candidates, mostly reformists and moderates, from contesting for a seat. Fraser Jackson has the story.
It's an historic low. Under 43% of the population turned out to vote in Iran's Friday parliamentary election, the lowest since the 1979 revolution. Supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was quick to blame foreign influence for the low voter turnout.
Their propaganda began a few months ago and got worse as the election approached. In the past 2 days, under the pretext of an illness and a virus, their media did not miss the slightest opportunity to discourage people from voting. Our enemies are opposed to any election by the Iranian people.
Disillusioned by the establishment, many of Iran's increasingly young and educated population abstained from the vote. In Tehran, turnout was just 25%. Days before the election, over 7,500 candidates were barred from running. Among them, some of the most prominent moderate-leaning and reformist candidates loyal to President Rouhani. Of the 290-seat parliament, 90 people standing for re-election were included in the ban, paving the way for conservative candidates to sweep to a landslide victory, claiming all 30 of Tehran's seats.
An election with only one party and another that has been filtered. It's not an election, it's a selection.
Many people voted in previous parliamentary elections, but the enthusiasm has faded more and more.
Corruption, mismanagement, the recent downing of a Ukrainian airliner, and a stagnating economy crippled by American sanctions have turned Iranians away from their government. The Conservatives' victory now gives moderate-leaning Rouhani even less room for manoeuvre.
We're going now to the Democratic race to find a challenger to Donald Trump in the November poll. Bernie Sanders is tightening his grip on the front-runner spot after broad-based support across age, racial and ideological groups propelled him to a clear victory in the Nevada caucuses. But other Democratic hopefuls are raising questions about the 78-year-old's ability to beat Trump, saying he is too much of a divisive figure. Karis Garland tells us more about Bernie Sanders' campaign.
He's the Democratic frontrunner in the race for president. Bernie Sanders claimed a decisive victory in Nevada as the caucus and primary season picks up steam.
Brothers and sisters, if we stand together, we will not only defeat Trump, we will transform this country and create a government and an economy that works for all of us, not wealthy campaign contributors.
Sanders essentially tied for first place in the Iowa State caucus with former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg. But the 78-year-old senator has steamed ahead, taking first place in New Hampshire on the 11th of February and winning now in Nevada. Sanders is known for his progressive policy ideas, including his Medicare for All healthcare plan that would replace the current private insurance system.
Together, we are going to end the international embarrassment of the United States of America, our great country, being the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people.
But Sanders is sparking concern he's too left-wing to defeat Donald Trump. He'll be hoping for a strong showing next Saturday in the South Carolina primary and on the 3rd of March in Super Tuesday contests across 14 states. Before Saturday, he had 21 delegates. He'll need 1,991 to become the nominee.
And on that, we're leaving this edition. But for more, you can visit our website. That's france24.com, where you'll find more on all the stories we've been developing here, including the latest from Iran, where parliamentary elections on Friday saw the lowest turnout since the revolution in 1979. You'll also find more on what we were just hearing there about the latest on the Democratic race for the nomination for the candidate that will go up against Donald Trump in November. There's also sports, business and culture news on there, so do take a look. That's it for now. Stay tuned to France 24. There's more coming up.